Hello and welcome to CineBites, a cinematic culinary podcast where we explore the wonders and beauty of cinema with our eyes and also explore the unique and glorious cuisine in those films with our taste buds. Today's cinematic adventure is taking us to prison in the 1940s and giving us some tips on how to escape. Join us as we dig our way through a classic film based off of a Stephen King novella, The Shawshank Redemption.
Feast your eyes. Well, here we are, episode 3,
Yes.
Adam.
We're on episode 3. It's exciting.
Very exciting, especially because we're going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite movies, have been ever since high school. It's just a great film to revisit. It's a little heavy, so it's not always great to revisit constantly, but when you do, you can really appreciate it every single time. Yep. And of course, I am talking about The Shawshank Redemption.
Here we go.
So, yeah. So, first thoughts on the movie before we even talk about it, or the getting into the weeds, if you will, of the storyline. What introduce me to your moments with being introduced to Shawshank Redemption.
So,
kind of take me back to that.
When
time.
did this movie? First of all, when did this movie come out?
90s. I will give you the.
So this was before I was born.
Yes.
So we're going to be talking about
94.
Yeah.
So I was only 3 years old as well.
Yeah, and I wasn't even born for another 6 years.
So wait, next year it's going to be the 30-year anniversary of Shawshank.
You're right.
That is
wow.
crazy.
We should celebrate.
Yeah. We should have, instead of doing what we're going to do for the meal, we should have done a birthday cake.
Yep, birthday cake.
Well, maybe we could do it next year on the pod.
Maybe we'll do a revisit.
No,
but this movie came out before I was born. This is the first movie on the pod that we've done that I have not seen in theaters.
Right.
Actually, no, I didn't see Get Out in theaters last episode.
That's okay.
So, but it came out in my lifetime. So this is the first movie that didn't come out in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And so it's the type of movie that I had heard of and saw reference of, even if I didn't even know the references. Because this movie is referenced a lot, like in pop culture.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Like things like The Simpsons and Family Guy and late night talk shows, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I kind of knew this movie before I even saw this movie. Yeah. And I didn't really think anything of it because I had never seen it before. But after watching this movie, it's a great period piece. Yeah. First of all, and it's just a great story, and I really love this movie too. This was one that you had suggested to do on the pod.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
This was already on my list of ones that I wanted to do.
Oh, awesome.
It's a higher ranking movie for me as well. Yeah. For movies that I loved, and so yeah, we need to get into this because this is great. Well, we'll go ahead and say now, spoiler warning.
Oh yes, of course.
The movie.
Yeah.
We're gonna say it every episode probably, but spoiler warning for sure on Shawshank Redemption, and possibly, sometimes we end up spoiling other things too.
That's true. So if you're listening and we start to talk about a movie you haven't seen before, you can always pause it, go watch the movie, then come back and join us again as we spoil it for you,
and this movie,
or continue to talk about it.
You have to see this movie.
You have to.
I mean, the other two that we've done are great, but this one I just feel like it has lots of cultural significance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also is just classic. It's just a classic.
Well, and I want to share that we're not alone in this thinking. If you go to any platform, so IMDb has it ranked, as of right now on today's date, 9.3 out of 10.
That's
and it's within probably the top 10 ratings on IMDb. Yeah. And then on Rotten Tomatoes, you have the tomato meter that's 91% and audience score of 98%. Yeah. So we're not alone when we're talking about this. And I don't think it's even uncool of us or a mainstream of us to think that this is a great movie, because we're not alone in this. It's just a great movie. Yeah. And it's a great story. I know you mentioned in the introduction that it's a Stephen King novella. And so I think that
baby book.
I would say out of all of his book to movie adaptations, this is the best one. This is the
Easily.
best one. There's a lot of good ones, and I mean when you pump out 6 novels a year as Stephen King for however many years
you're gonna get one that's good every once in a while.
You're gonna get one, but one as incredibly just a masterpiece in the art of cinema alone. I mean it is just such a great movie.
I think that partially has to do with Stephen King's involvement, but who directed this?
This was directed
I don't
by,
remember.
I should have.
From
Frank Darabont.
Yeah, see, it's not a big name in like the director world, because there's the Spielbergs and the Tarantinos and the whatever. So that's not a name that I recognize off right away.
Really, the two biggest ones are both prison movies. So it's The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile.
Yeah, okay,
The Green
that makes
Mile
sense.
was fantastic, which I think we should do.
Yeah, we should do that at some point. I know a little bit about that movie, but I have not seen that movie. So
it is good.
I really want to see that.
That's
on my list.
It out. It is so good.
It's on my list of movies, but I don't know if I've not seen Green Mile, but if you're gonna watch either of the two of them, I'd say watch Shawshank first. It gets better ratings on all this than Green Mile, but
I mean, Green Mile's still up there. It's at a 8.6, which on an IMDb score is very, very good.
But it said he was the writer for that one.
Well, it says he's the writer for Shawshank as well. I believe he
did both.
Yeah, so he wrote and directed it. Let me see.
Man of many talents.
Yeah, so see, he's designated as the director. But The Green Mile is another one that is a Stephen King novel as well.
Really?
Yeah. So I guess
Fun
Frank.
facts.
So a kind of hot take, is Frank actually a good director or a good interpreter of a good story?
Yeah.
Because he did it
of an adaptive, because this would be considered an adaptive screenplay.
Right.
Adapting from a book.
Wait, actually, I'm piecing these all together, but I'm pretty sure his third movie, The Mist, isn't that another Stephen King movie?
Oh,
hold on,
I think
let me see. I'm scrolling down. It is. All of it.
Maybe these are all...
so he is...
This is a conspiracy.
I think he is good at taking Stephen King's
He must be
story.
very close to Stephen King.
Yeah.
And it was kind of him taking Stephen's stories, since Stephen King doesn't really direct anything.
Yeah. He was saying, can you take my story, one of the millions that I have, and make it a masterpiece? And he did. And it's a great movie.
He did it with...
But not with The Mist. If you've seen The Mist, you can save yourself time. I really actually want you to watch The Mist, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone here, because I want everyone... I don't know if I even want anyone to watch this. If you watch the film adaptation of The Mist, you will leave mad.
Good.
I promise you. And it's a twist at the end that you will leave very angry.
I hate dumb twists. I like twists, but if it's a dumb twist... Ugh.
But I think they messed up the actual story, though, from Stephen King. I think Frank, I don't know if he made this decision, but I think they went in a different direction. Okay. So the movie adaptation, the ending is not great, and then I think the story one is better. But I haven't read the story.
Yeah.
There's so many Stephen King novels.
But today we're talking about Shawshank. And
yes, Shawshank.
This I actually rewatched the movie, and on a rewatch, it still hit. It still hit real good, real hard.
Timeless.
It is timeless.
Yeah.
For 100%. Came out in the 90s. At this point, it still holds up 100%. I think that's partially due to it being a period piece, like I had mentioned.
Yeah.
It takes place actually over the course of 2 decades, 19 years.
Took Andy a long time.
And Andy Dufresne was in prison for 19 years. So it's over the course of 19, 20-ish years.
Yeah.
And so you kind of get it's a period piece within a prison. So between the 40s and the 60s.
Yeah.
And so we should get to the food.
Yeah.
Before we get too far. Into the movie.
Yeah, because we'll get into the synopsis of the movie, but the big part of this show, as you all know,
you all should know, our loyal listeners.
Yes, is the food reveal. Yep. And so I'll just kind of talk about this. So
you want to reveal?
I do want to reveal. Okay. So the inspiration obviously this movie is spent a lot of time in prison.
Yep.
So it would
19
be
years.
only fitting that the food that we choose from the movie is prison food. And so
Great.
there was a lot of moments in the movie where they're eating, and we'll kind of touch on that too, kind of the comfort that they have or the escape that they have when they're, there and eating.
Or at first, the disgust.
The disgust too with the magazine, obviously, which it was disgust, but also kind of a bonding moment, with him and
Brooks.
So with Brooks. So I'd love to reveal this. So hold on, let me move the mic.
You got it? Oh,
okay. Is
ooh, beautiful.
prison food. So let me kind of talk through this.
This is some good looking prison.
So usually
I'll move it a little bit closer.
So usually this is under a different name, but since we are keeping it kind of a PG audience for YouTube, this is my variation of a creamed beef on toast. It's called different names, but instead of the creamed beef, we substituted with sausage gravy. So we have sausage gravy on toast. Scrambled eggs, lightly seasoned, most likely in prison food. It will not be seasoned at all, but we wanted to enjoy it a little bit. So we got seasoned eggs, and we got the home fried potatoes seasoned with garlic and herbs.
Yeah.
So that is our meal. We're going to dig in, and then we have it to take down orange juice for that. So we're going to eat and kind of taste.
Those potatoes go hard.
Are they good?
They actually are.
I'm gonna get some of this gravy in there. So, So let's have you eat it a few times. Take a few bites, and kind of let me know your first thoughts, because this is kind of your first take on, I guess, a cream beef meal.
Yep.
So, and the bread is from my wife. Once again, sourdough. So shout out to her. She's amazing.
Kind of difficult, but
so that's the cream beef. And it's cream beef at the core of it is a lot more salty. So I think with having the sausage gravy, it kind of takes that salt element back. It's essentially biscuits and gravy, but without biscuits.
it's a toast.
And honestly, this is a step up, I imagine, from what actual prisoners in the 40s are eating. Even here more recently, I've talked to a gentleman who was in prison for a little while, and they were serving him green bologna, is how he described it. So, they're not eating the best. And I imagine in the 40s, they were not at all.
But this is prison adjacent.
Prison adjacent, yes.
And,
Sorry, I responded in the moment of eating.
In the movie, it's hard to know, when they don't talk about the food that they're eating, it's hard to know exactly what they're eating. But there's a scene, the first meal scene in the movie when Andy gets to prison, and he goes and sits down with this group of guys, and there is kind of this slush on his plate that looks kind of like this gravy. It's not exactly this. Like, I don't know if there was toast. I know there was bread on the side.
That's actually not that bad.
But it's not bad at all. It had this kind of gray sludge in the movie. And
it was probably some variation.
And he pulls a maggot out of it. I thought about getting a maggot for this episode to put it in there. But
I legit thought the same thing.
But he doesn't eat it in the movie. So if he ate it, or if Brooks ate it, then I might have.
Yeah.
But which is what you're led to think, is to think that Brooks might eat it, but he feeds it to his pet baby,
which is
Raven,
really sweet.
His pet bird. So it's kind of a wholesome moment, because he finds this maggot in his prison food, and this old guy's like, "You're gonna eat that?" And he's like,
"I love
no."
Brooks.
He's like, "No," and he's trying to figure out whether this old guy's just crazy and actually wants to eat this maggot or what. So he gives it to him, and then inside of Brooks' pocket is a little baby bird. He gives it to.
It's so sweet.
Wholesome.
And you'll learn more about Brooks, and we can kind of talk about him.
I get sad when I think about Brooks now.
I do too. But
after watching the movie, it's so sad.
He's a good example, I think, of
such a good character.
How, being in prison, incarceration, it's if you've been in there from a young age, how that's all you ever know.
Yeah, you don't think about that a lot when you think of people in prison.
Right. You
don't think about the rehabilitation to normal life.
Because if you think about it, the world goes on. Society progresses, society moves, evolves, changes. When you are a prisoner, you go into a box and time stops.
Yeah.
You're getting older, but time remains the same because it's so mundane. It's the same year
Day
in,
in, day
year
out.
out, day in,
Yep.
day out. It's a repetitive madness in a way. So if you are in there for so long and you get out after 40 years and all of a sudden there's flying cars or
Yeah.
something you're not
Well,
familiar with.
There's a scene when Brooks gets out of prison. At that point, he had been there for 40 or 50 years.
Long time.
And so he got into prison in 1906 or something, or 1912, somewhere around there, early 1900s.
Doesn't really have any family.
Yeah,
left
and so
him.
he goes to prison for 40 to 50 years, comes back, and now all of a sudden there's a ton of cars everywhere.
Yeah.
He said he writes a letter back to his friends in prison saying, I saw an automobile once when I was growing up, but now they're everywhere. And he said one line that sticks with me in the movie is, he said, it seems like the world has gotten up and gotten itself in a big hurry. And he's like trying to adjust because everything around him is in a big hurry. Not only in his previous life before he went to prison, but also when he's in prison, everything's slow,
Right.
Everything takes time. Like this movie is over the course of 20 years.
Right.
And so it takes time for things to happen. And that's kind of an example. Is he's like, I've been here so long. He's like, the world has seemed to gotten itself in a big hurry.
Yeah.
And he's tried to adjust to that. And then, spoilers, eventually ends up hanging himself because he couldn't deal with the adjustment.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can talk a little bit more about Brooks. Like you said, talking about him it's sad because he's definitely one of the most lovable characters in the whole movie. And, you root for him, but it does show how much of an impact, inmates have once they get out.
He's just this sweet old man.
Yeah.
And
With
you
a
don't
pet.
you don't know for certain. I don't know what they said he was in prison for. I can't remember. They may not have, but
I can't remember.
And everybody in Shawshank is innocent. That's what they say.
That's true.
Everybody in Shawshank is innocent. Nobody did it. So it's hard to know with him.
Yeah.
He's just a sweet old man. You don't know if he actually, killed a couple people or not to get into prison. But either way, he had been rehabilitated at that point and was just this nice guy.
Yeah. You're under the impression that he did a stupid mistake when he was young.
Yeah.
And
he was very young.
I think that was really what you get. And yeah. I mean, he made his mistake. And the thing about saying, everyone is innocent, we do have a character in this movie that actually is innocent. And it proves that it's innocent. So if you don't mind, I can kind of talk about
we gotta
Shawshank.
we gotta review the food real quick.
Yeah, before we get into the synopsis. I always forget this part. So
we gotta review the food.
Did you go first last time? No, I went first.
A food review?
I think so. I did go first because I wanted to. So
let me write this down. Here, I'll talk about it while you write yours down too.
yeah.
Let's see. I'm gonna give this a.
So just a reminder of this episode. We're probably not going to do this every time, but every time we taste the food that is seen in the movie, we give a quick review on a scale from 0 to 10 on how we feel about this food. So today we're rating prison food.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're tasting our adaptation of it. So we're not really tasting 1940s prison food. We're tasting
Maggot-filled.
what is right in front of us. So,
So this is what I'm giving it.
Go ahead.
I'm giving it a 4.3.
Ooh, that's
probably lower than you
That
expected.
is lower than what I was expecting.
So here's my reasoning. First of all, the potatoes actually very good. I like the potatoes. So that's helping a lot in this situation.
I think I know what's going to bring it down.
There's two things. Eggs are fine. I like a good scrambled egg. They're seasoned fine. Nothing wrong with the eggs. But I'm not huge on scrambled eggs. Like I'm never craving it. For me, eggs are very neutral, like probably a solid 5 or maybe a 6 if they're really good. The two things that are bringing it down is I don't really like sausage gravy and I hate orange juice.
I had a feeling that
and
was
so the orange juice is bringing it down a lot. I never drink orange juice.
Yeah.
And I just had some. It's not
terrible.
It's not as bad as I remember when I was little, but it's still not good.
Still
Like
not a big fan.
I literally have not had orange juice in forever because I hate it. which is really weird because I actually love sucking the juice out of an orange.
Yeah.
It tastes so different.
It
What
is
do they do
different.
with this?
It's a lot
don't
more
know.
oranges.
Maybe.
You're getting it in a smaller taste when you bite into the orange juice. So when you drink it out of that,
They need to
it's different.
figure out how to get that essence of actual juice from an orange.
Well, it is actually.
Well, but
juice,
it doesn't taste the same.
Yeah,
They're
it's
doing
just in
something.
a grand. Yeah, it's just in a larger
But-
scale.
Anyway, the bread is fine and toasted. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just bread. But I'm not a big biscuits and gravy guy. And this is basically biscuits and gravy, but with toast instead of biscuits.
Yeah.
And so it's not for me.
I get it.
I'm giving it a 4.3 for the prison food.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Not horrible. I'll eat it.
Yeah.
I might avoid drinking the orange juice. I will probably not finish this orange juice by the episode end.
I will.
You will.
I like orange
won't.
juice. So orange juice actually kind of bumped it up on mine. I'm not going to drink it every single day, but I do like, small sips of orange juice. It's pretty tasty. One thing I will say, I like breakfast, but breakfast isn't my go-to meal.
Neither it is. Neither for me.
So I think that's kind of why my scale's a little bit lower. The sausage gravy on the toast is fine. I'm not going to get it every time. I don't even get biscuits and gravy every time we go to a diner or anything. It's usually something completely different. And then scrambled eggs, I'm same with you. I'm neutral.
It's neutral. It's good, but it's not like, oh yeah, I really want scrambled eggs.
Right.
Or
I would
anything.
probably like it better if there was cheese or something in it.
A little
if it was
cheese.
a little dressed up a little bit more. But this is prison food, so we can't spoil ourselves a
Yeah.
little bit too much. So I'm going to give
We're
it.
already a little spoiled.
I'm going to give it a 5.5.
Okay. Yeah, a little above mid.
Yeah, above mid.
Slightly.
Still below average in my scaling, but
Yeah.
but it's prison food, so what do you expect?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's not bad. The
So-
orange juice really takes it down a lot for me. I mean, honestly, the potatoes alone, the potatoes are like an 8. I really like these.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll give you the recipe. It's real easy.
It's really
Well, you
easy.
watched me make it too, so it's super easy.
Eggs are neutral. If it weren't for the potatoes, I might have been all the way down to a 3.
Yeah, I would probably eat this as like a breakfast meal anytime throughout the week. For
Yeah,
me,
I wouldn't be
honestly.
mad if somebody served this up for breakfast, but I'm not going to order it for
Yeah,
breakfast.
right. No, I get it.
That's how I
Yeah.
am.
If you got other options on the menu, I totally understand that. But like I said, this is prison food.
And I
so-
really want something good to sip on, but this is all I got this episode.
So I get in the debate with my
bitter.
wife, and it's, are you pro pulp or no pulp if you're an orange juice drinker? You're probably just a no orange juice, period.
Yeah, I don't have a preference. I would say probably no pulp just
Yeah.
because I don't like orange juice in the first place. You might as well make it more of a seamless experience for me
Yeah.
to at least try to make it taste good.
That's where her and I disagree. She likes the pulp. She likes to chew on her drink.
I don't mind chewing on my drink. I like
Yeah.
a good boba. I like if you've had aloe vera juice. Ooh, I love aloe
I
vera
do
juice
like that.
with the chunks of aloe vera in it. Very
First,
good.
but with orange juice, for me, it's just I'm okay with a no pulp. And
Yeah,
don't
I would
know.
agree.
I don't know why
I would
that
agree.
is.
She's wrong.
Yeah,
I don't have an opinion on orange
Yeah.
juice because I don't like any of it anyway.
yeah.
So.
Let us know what you think. Are you pro pulp or no pulp?
Hashtag team pulp. Or
Hashtag
team
team
no pulp.
no
Let's
pulp.
go. They're
So
gonna win the championship.
yeah, probably. So I'm gonna give a little bit of a rundown, a quick, in my own words, of what the story of Shawshank Redemption is.
Here we go.
So the original title for this, and I'm gonna have to re-look
the
this
book?
up. Yeah, did I told
was,
you it earlier.
It's the lady's name.
Yeah, Rita Hayworth.
Rita
and-
Hayworth
Yeah, and
and
the
the
Shawshank
Shawshank
Redemption.
Redemption.
So that's a mouthful. So they shortened it to Shawshank Redemption, which is good. I mean, it's a great title. So the Shawshank Redemption, like I said, is a movie adaptation.
I keep taking sips of the orange
The
juice and
orange
I hate it.
You should probably just get a different drink.
Nope, I have to for the pod. You got to do it for the pod.
So they shortened the name, and it is an adaptation of a Stephen King classic, or it was made a classic because of the movie. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
really.
Whichever came first. But you follow the story of Andy Dufresne, who was wrongfully accused of murdering his wife and her golf pro
Her lover, her secret lover.
Both of them were murdered. So you're quickly introduced to the story of Andy on trial. You're seeing him plead his case. He's saying, I'm innocent, whatever. They say, well, that's not good enough. The evidence is against you.
It looks really bad on him.
It looks really bad
Really
because
bad.
the night of the incident, he was drunk.
And he was thinking about doing it.
And he was thinking about it.
Like he was actually wanting to do it.
Because he threw the gun in the... Didn't he throw the gun
so
in the
he is like standing outside her house or his house. And they went in there. And this is right after he had found out about she's cheating on him.
Yeah.
And he's drunk because he went and drinking after he found out. And then stumbles out of the car. Some bullets fall just on the floor. A couple other things fall that have his fingerprints on them. And he carries the gun and he goes out and he starts walking towards the house, but then eventually just turns around and gets back in his car.
Yeah.
Decided not to. And to try and get rid of the evidence, I guess, he just throws the gun into the river.
Yeah.
Which was bad on him because now he doesn't have it as evidence against him.
Yeah. Because he could have used it as an unshot gun.
Yeah.
You know, but instead, I mean, he
Yeah.
was drunk. He wasn't thinking.
Yeah. So he threw it in the river. The police couldn't find a gun in the river. And so they found bullets near the scene, a broken like alcohol bottle near the scene with his fingerprints, footprints that match his shoes, you know, tire tracks that match his car
It was
outside of the house the same day that he found out his wife cheated.
All working
And so
against him.
Everything's working against him. And the way they kind of lay out the movie is that you think he did it kind of.
Yeah.
Like they don't say for certain whether he did or he didn't.
Yeah.
But you don't find out till later on that he is entirely innocent.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that was a good setup because you're kind of peeling back, you know, the discovery of who Andy is as a person. You start to see that more and more with how he interacts with people in prison. Mm-hmm. And so at the beginning, like I said, Andy is wrongfully accused. The state that they're in, I can't remember. Does it mention in the movie what state they're in?
They're in the New England area.
Okay. But
I think he might be in Maine.
Okay.
Or something. But the prison is more in the New England area. Like he was from Maine or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm pretty
can't
sure,
remember exactly.
based on the story, whether they explicitly say it in the movie or not, the state that he's in doesn't have the death penalty. So instead, to solve that, is they just give you a life sentence. In his case, he was given 2 life sentences. And so he's sent to the prison. He's getting in with this new wave of inmates. You kind of see other characters that are going to be key people in the story, such as Red, which Morgan Freeman's character, and you start to see his interaction and in almost his state of shock once he gets there is more, I'm really here, and not so much I'm guilty, I deserve to be here, but it's like, how did I get myself into this situation?
Yeah.
And so at the beginning, they place bets on which inmates they think's going to last for the night.
Which one's going to break and cry and freak out. And
one inmate did break, and someone won the bet, and it turns out that inmate ended up dying.
Yeah, not the warden, but the guard or whatever he is.
Hadley is
Hadley,
Captain Hadley.
Yeah, he's like the captain, and so he actually just beats this guy to death on his first night.
Yeah.
In the prison. It's just crazy.
So just kind of a taste of Shawshank and what Andy has gotten himself into. So later you start to see, kind of throughout the film, Andy's interaction with the inmates. He starts to ask or befriends Red and starts to ask him for like different tools here and there. And
I think the first thing he asks for is the little stone pick.
Yeah. And I think
first thing.
I think Red jokingly said, you know, you're going to try to dig yourself out, you know, blah, blah, blah. And Andy just laughed it off, especially once he got the thing.
Once you see it, it's just a tiny little pickaxe this big.
Very small. And you can fit in your pocket.
And Red even says he thought it would take 300 years for someone to dig out of a prison with that.
Right.
Because that's the first thing that comes to mind when you you think of a rock picking tool inside a prison is, they're going to try and dig out.
Right.
But Andy was like, just wait till you see it. There's no way.
Yeah. Which is great on Andy's part to stay under the radar by, okay, I have this for a hobby, quote unquote, but it ends up being a very significant tool, you know, obviously for the movie.
And he keeps it secret from his other inmates, and he keeps it secret from the viewer through the whole movie.
Yeah, that's true.
That's an important thing because I think a lot of times with movies, I mean, obviously it depends on the situation of the movie, whether or not the director or the writers want to reveal. But him breaking out of prison, spoilers, was not revealed to the viewer until he did it at the very end.
That's very true. And then it showed how he did it, which I think was brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, so it shows, they wake up one morning and they, for roll call, whatever,
Yeah.
and he doesn't step out of his room, so they go up there and see what's going on, and he's just not there.
Yeah, he's gone.
And so they're trying to figure it out. Obviously, the big hole he dug is behind a poster, so they don't find it until a couple minutes after.
Which is the Rita Hayworth poster.
Well,
poster.
It was a different lady in the movie, at least.
That's right.
Because he got new posters over the years.
That's right.
The first one he got was a Rita Hayworth poster.
Yeah.
Because that was an actress in a movie that they would watch a lot in prison. It was one of the only movies that they had in prison.
Yeah.
And so they watched it a lot, and they all liked this actress. And so he got a poster. But then as years went by, I think he had a Marilyn Monroe poster at one point, and then I don't remember the name of the third lady on the third one. But
and the significance of the poster was to hide the hole that he was digging. And when you see in the movie how far he had to go or to get to the wall to get to the next step, that had to, I mean, obviously it took 19 years.
Took him 19 years.
You know?
Well, he didn't get the tool until a couple years in.
Oh, that's right.
But even still, it's about 15 to 16 years it took him to dig. Every night he was digging. I don't even know if he slept. I mean, I'm sure he did. He would have had to.
Probably very minimal.
But probably split his hours each night and dug a few hours and then slept a few hours.
Well, and he was only taking pockets full of dirt out because he had to put it in his pockets, go out to the yard, unleash it so that they don't
dump
see.
it through his pant leg so none of his inmates could see and none of the guards or anything.
Yeah, and it was so brilliantly done, and I think that just shows kind of how intelligent Andy really was, even going into prison. I mean, you'll see throughout the film. Obviously, there's different elements of this movie that show Andy and how he's able to talk to people, how he's able to help people in a way to befriend people, but at the end, ultimately to help get him to freedom.
Yeah.
And so you see him helping the guards when it comes to filing taxes so that they can save money.
And then eventually the captain, and then eventually the warden.
Yeah,
was the big
warden. One. Yeah, and that relationship with Andy and Warden, I think, really is when it starts intensifying even more, because you'll see in the movie where Warden even has the character Tommy killed, just because Warden wants to keep Andy in prison, and so Andy, has a relationship now with the guards and with the prison in general, where he's too valuable to let go. Yeah, and he's too valuable to just move on. So you see different parts of it. You see he, like I said, befriends Red. He kind of creates a group there. He has a huge involvement with the construction of the library and kind of building that. So like I said, the warden, even though Warden is corrupt and he's like the main villain of the whole movie, he wanted to keep Andy there for his own gain.
Andy was protected.
Yes.
But yet, even still, Andy also experienced more punishment than the other prisoners when he did something out of line.
Right.
Because there's the one scene where he's in the warden's office or someone's office that has the intercom.
Oh, and he plays the record player.
He plays the record, the opera record in Italian. And he locks the door so that they can't get in and stop him. So it plays for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And
really just to give that freedom and kind of enjoyment for the rest of the inmates, too.
I think Red narrates saying, in that moment, every man in Shawshank was free for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, he gets in trouble for that and has to go into solitary confinement for like a month.
Yeah.
And then later on in the movie, he, when I forget the name of the new kid who gets there very close to the end of the movie, that gets there that has evidence.
Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy.
Has evidence against Andy being guilty.
Yeah.
And so the warden punishes Andy, sending him to solitary confinement for a month for trying to ask the warden to get a retrial. Because he's like, Warden, I think I have a chance at a new trial here. Yeah. And he's like, no, it's not going to happen. And then because of him asking that, he sent him to solitary confinement for a month and then extended it another month. He was in solitary confinement for 2 months. and for the I think 40 years that Red was in prison is the longest he saw anybody have to go into solitary confinement.
Crazy.
And then on top of that, they set up Tommy being killed.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so they set it up to where it seemed like, oh, we just need to have a quick conversation with you, Tommy. It'll be no problem at all. And then they take him outside of the prison walls to seem like he's escaping, and then he gets shot in the back a few times as if he were running away.
Right.
But it was really planted.
Yeah.
Because Tommy was 100, because he had such respect for Andy, because Andy helped him get his high school diploma.
Right.
He had such respect for him, he was willing to testify in court, and then they just killed him because they did not want to get rid of Andy because he's such a big asset in laundering hundreds of thousands of dollars for the warden.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just crazy. I actually, I did yesterday when I rewatched this, at the end of the movie, Andy escapes, and they said he escaped, and he put it under this other name, this alias, this fake name, but turns out that whole time that fake name that he was pinning all of this on was going to be his new identity when he escaped prison. So he was able to escape prison, essentially absorb this new identity that was fake because he got a new birth certificate, Social Security, bank accounts, all that, and laundered $370,000 of the warden's money and basically gave it to himself.
Gee, man,
after
Christmas.
prison. And I did the inflation calculator. It's $3.5 million.
Oh my god!
And so in today's money, it was in 1966 when he escaped out of prison.
Yeah,
it was $3.5 million that he was able to get out.
That's insane.
And he took the money and went to somewhere in Mexico and just lived out the rest of his days.
Yeah,
with Red.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because so the other part, and that's a good point to bring up with Red. So every time that Red is up for parole or has the opportunity to state his case on why he should leave or with good behavior and everything, they always denied him.
Yeah.
So that's the second scene I think you see in the beginning of the movie is Red stating his case. And so throughout the years that he's in Shawshank, he eventually gets approved and he gets sent out, and that's when he meets up with Andy. So it's really cool. At the very end. Yeah, at the very end, you see two free men, kind of living out the rest of their lives.
It's the last shot of the movie is him walking up to Andy on the beach with the boat that he had talked about. He was working on the boat that he was gonna, make and talked about starting a new business down in Mexico. Yeah. And it's one of those things where sometimes with prison movies, you feel a little bit indifferent about how you should feel about the successes of a prisoner. Right. Because if, they might be in there for a certain reason or they did something bad or whatever. But in this certain case, obviously Andy did not do it. Red did do it, and I think he pleaded guilty. Yeah. He pleaded guilty so that he would get a shorter sentence in prison. And and by the end of it, he is definitely rehabilitated and just a genuinely nice guy to a lot of his prisoners. Oh, yeah. You can tell that he was just like in his teenage years or in his 20s when he, I think he said he killed somebody or killed two people. Yeah. And so it's kind of one of those things. The ending of the movie is just so satisfying. Oh, yeah. That's one of my notes is this movie has one of the most satisfying endings of any movie.
I would say, yeah.
Because it like last episode, we talked about Get Out. It leaves a lot to the imagination. Yeah. This movie doesn't leave a ton to the imagination. Yeah. It actually goes back and just explains what Andy did. Yeah. And explains his brilliance. Now, if you go back and watch the whole first, 3/4 of the movie, then you can kind of pick up on these little things. But at the very end, they just explain it all. Yeah. Say this is, he was hiding his pick inside of his Bible, and he was, and that fake name he had made was so that he could have a new identity. Yeah. And the poster on the wall was to hide the hole, and all that kind of stuff. Everything started to line up. Yeah. And then, it's just a super satisfying ending because you want these guys to succeed because they've just been so screwed over by just their life in general. Right. Their life has just ended. And so Andy took up a new life, literally and figuratively. And it's just very satisfying. Yeah. After I was watching it, I was like, wow, there's some deep things that happen in this movie. People die and some things with sexual assault and different things.
Right.
But it's just like at the end of the movie, you actually just feel so good.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this was so great.
Yeah.
This movie ended so awesome,
Yeah.
and it worked out for everybody. And well, not everybody, but it worked out in the favor of the people that I liked in the movie.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I mean, I think that makes for a great story is you want the bad guys to lose, which Warden did, and you want the good guys to win. And that's exactly what we saw with Andy and Red.
And it's one of those things, and until the very end, there's never explicitly knowing, who's good, who's bad.
Everyone's innocent in Shawshank.
Everyone's innocent in Shawshank, and everybody is just kind of there in prison.
Right.
And a lot of the movie is just their day to day, and then eventually their day to day becomes more involved when he starts doing people's taxes and things. But
right.
It isn't until the very end where you are starting to line up, like when you find out that Andy's innocent, like, okay, then something needs to happen to this guy to get him out.
Right.
And then that's when you start to see the blatant evil of the warden, of killing Tommy and putting Andy in solitary and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It isn't until close near the end of the movie when there's actually a pretty definitive line of who's good, who's bad, and who you want to root for.
Yeah. No, that's very true. I will say one thing I do kind of want to go back into with this movie, and since we are a food podcast or a food and cinema podcast, kind of what are your thoughts on the interpretation of or the relationship that they have with food and the moments that you see throughout the film that just kind of have a big impact on the inmates and usually around that involvement with food. So for example, like if they're in the dining hall or even the beers on the roof.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention.
Yeah.
There's the one scene when this is kind of the start of Andy's big plan. And you can kind of see in the movie that it's kind of in the back of his mind at all times. This wasn't planned. This was just a random chance that the captain had inherited $30,000 or something, but was afraid he was going to lose all of it because of taxes and all that.
Yeah.
But Andy, being a smart banker, knows of a way for him to keep all of the money.
Yeah.
And so he approaches the captain, which was sketchy to do because it could get you killed to step out of line and not work. And but he approached the captain and was like, I could get you could keep all this money. And of course the captain gets interested.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And then he said, I will do it for you, and I will do everything that needs to happen for you to be able to keep the money, as long as you get, I think he said 3 beers for each of my friends up here.
Yeah.
For us to enjoy while we're doing this job.
And it was a huge risk.
It was a huge risk.
Because, I mean, Hadley at the time wanted to throw him off the roof.
Yeah, he was literally dangling him over the roof for asking.
Yeah, for just asking.
And so, yeah, that's kind of a moment. Eventually, he does help the captain with that.
Yeah.
And then near the end of the project, I think Red had narrated and said, like, it was the last day of the project or the second to last day of the project. At the end of the day, they had brought 3 cold beers for each person up there.
Right.
And that was a moment. And Andy didn't even drink any. It wasn't even for himself.
No.
And I think Red said in the moment, he's like, Andy, obviously, he said he gave up drinking. And Red said that he thinks he just did it to feel normal.
Yeah.
For once.
Well, and I think that's also giving the normal feeling to his inmates, too, by drinking the beer.
Yeah.
And throughout the movie, and we kind of talked about it, Andy kind of teeters along the line of getting in a good relationship with the prison, the guards, the warden, and then also with his inmates. So Andy just kind of becomes this person who everyone likes and wants to get along with.
Everybody wants.
Yeah, and wants to know and wants to get along with. And you see these moments of freedom that they give. We talked about the record player and kind of giving that freedom for the inmates, but you also see it with moments through Andy and his friends in the dining hall with drinking the beers on the roof.
Yeah.
So that combination of where food can be an escape for people in prison or in the movies that we have been reviewing, I think is really a really cool moment or really cool thing to note that Andy has that ability to bring everyone together and have that little bit of freedom, even though everyone is innocent in Shawshank.
The dining hall is a great equalizer in the movie. To my knowledge, from what I remember, nothing really bad happens in the dining hall. Now
Except the maggot, but I wouldn't even call that a bad thing.
That wasn't a bad thing. That just was a showcase of this is Andy's life now, because he had just gotten to prison. This was his first prison meal, and it has a maggot in it.
Right,
so that was just an example of that. But it actually turned into a wholesome moment with Brooks.
It did.
Other than maybe some snark comments made in the dining hall, nothing really bad happened.
No.
Which you don't often see. I feel like in a lot of other prison movies, a lot of bad things happen in the dining hall, because
like someone taking your muffin or fights breaking out.
Fights breaking out, like a lot with that. And that's so I feel like in this movie, the dining hall and the food was this great equalizer.
Yeah.
They were all able to bond over that, and nobody was stealing each other's food.
No.
Even the other prisoners that were bad and did things to Andy, they were neutralized in the dining hall
once
area.
It got to the dining hall. Yeah.
And so I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
That it's just like I already said a couple of times, the great neutralizer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And food in general is that way.
I think so.
I
agree.
So.
No, I agree. There's an element of
and having meals with people.
Yeah. There's a element of fellowship, bringing or making relationships stronger. In their situation, it was bringing that peace to them that they don't commonly have.
Yeah.
So I thought, in the spirit of this show, I think that is a good example of the freedom that they have and how much food, like you said, brings people together.
Yeah.
So I think that was a great thing that they added in the story. Whether they, they probably were thinking at the time, oh, this is just a dining scene in prison. But I think it speaks volumes if you kind of dissect it and look into it a little bit more. So I think what we can do now is let's give a rating.
Okay. I will say, I don't think we've said anything bad about any of the movies we've had on this pod so far, but I'm about to say something that's kind of a little bit bad about this movie.
Okay, go for it.
Is that it's actually not a super long movie. It's 2.5 hours, just over 2 hours. But it does feel kind of slow at times. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad it takes its time. It's kind of a little bit of both. Like, the movie is great in that it takes its time. It sits on moments it needs to sit on, but I think it also sits on moments that it doesn't need to.
True.
It's kind of a little bit of both. So I really, it's not docking that many points for me at all.
Yeah. This
movie's still great. I really don't think it changes it at all in my mind. But if I had anything to say, it was just kind of like, this movie is over the course of 20 years, and it almost feels like it's taking 20 years, even though it's not a long movie.
Yeah,
it's super weird. Like usually, at a 3-hour movie, you're talking, oh shoot, this is really long. It's gonna drag. So being less than 2.5 hours, it's really not that long. But I kind of felt at some moments it was dragging. But in some ways, I think it helped it because it took its time in moments it was supposed to.
Right.
One thing this movie made me appreciate is the little details, the little things in life.
Right.
I think that's kind of a subplot in this movie, is to enjoy the little things.
Right.
The scene with the beer, the record, the library, even people being able to get their high school diploma.
Yeah.
When you're in prison, you now have to enjoy and embrace the little things.
Right. Yeah.
And so they do well in that you kind of have to take your time to enjoy those little things every once in a while. But at some moments, I wish it would pick up a little bit of pace.
I see what you're saying. And I think maybe if you put yourself in the lens of Brooks, because I think nowadays, especially with us reviewing film, and I totally understand and I agree that a lot of films can drag out. But if you put yourself in the eyes of Brooks and kind of think, we've all kind of got up in a hurry and we want to see things
100%.
quickly moving. I agree with you, though. I think there were some parts where they probably could have left out. And we'll run into a lot of movies like that.
And that's why I kind of think that it is a, I guess, issue, you could say, with the movie, but it's also not, because it's simultaneously, I think, a bad thing that they're kind of slow in moments, but also good things. So it kind of ends up balancing itself out in my mind, because there's some moments where it's like, glad that we were able to do the little things.
Right.
And embrace the little things, but also we didn't have to talk about this little thing. We could have moved on quicker.
Yeah.
So,
no, I agree. I think that's a good way to pull it all together.
We're going to rate these.
Yep. I had a number in my head.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I will. So as I mentioned, this has always been a film that I think that I've rather enjoyed and rather adored for a long time, just because the story element, you put yourself in, not necessarily in the shoes of Andy, but you're rooting for him the whole time, especially once you find out that he's an innocent man and things aren't working for him the way that you would want them to. So even if it's, let's say, step away from Andy's story, everything else with the characters, with everything that is pulled together, this has always just been a timeless movie. And I think when we come back to revisit this movie again and again, we're just going to step away saying, like, that's just a good movie.
That's just a classic.
That's just a classic.
Yeah.
And in respect of the classics, anything that I would say is a great movie / classic, in my eyes, is in the 9s. So for my rating, it's going to be at 9.1.
I'm going to go ahead and reveal mine. 9.3.
Ooh.
Mine's a little bit. We already know that I'm a little bit more of a generous.
So yours is 0.2 less than Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. Spider-Verse I might have ranked a little high.
That's okay.
But that's okay.
Yeah, it's preference. But no, I mean, you and I kind of like with our last
9.3. It's so good though.
Yeah, kind of like with our last, and even with the slow elements, like you said. I mean, that didn't really knock down your points too much. At all. So we're definitely in agreement with this movie.
It's solid. It's more than solid. It's great.
Yeah.
It's just really good, timeless period piece, classic with great acting.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about the acting much.
Yeah, we didn't really.
Is there a lot that what's his name? Is his name Tim?
Yeah, Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins.
There's a lot.
Is there a lot of things that he's in?
Oh my goodness!
I can't name another Tim Robbins movie off the top of my head.
He's in Mystic River, which Mystic River was fantastic. So Dead Man Walking with Sean Penn. He was in War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. He was in. Let me think off the top of my head. He's actually been in some funny movies. Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny was one with Jack
really?
Black. Yeah, he was in that as
I don't remember him in that.
as a cameo, and he actually can be pretty funny. But I mean, yeah, Tim Robbins has been in. He's been in a good.
But anyway,
good amount of
Tim
movies.
Robbins is great, and I think I'm trying to think of just different Morgan Freeman movies in general, but this movie I think showcases Morgan Freeman. This is one of his best showcases of his work.
Absolutely.
In the acting, but you also get narration throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
And you can't get much better than Morgan Freeman narration.
A Morgan Freeman narration is just so blissful to the ears.
And then on top of it, also he's acting in the movie as well.
Yeah.
And
he's great.
And he does great.
Yeah.
And portrays the character of Red very well, because Red is a pretty comforting character.
Yes.
And he's a very comforting seeming person.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Like we said earlier, we were happy that the good guys won. We're happy that Red and Andy got out of there because we were rooting for them the whole time. So so happy for both of them. So now we can get into the Cinesnacks.
Cinesnacks.
So
here we go.
now that we talked about
gosh.
Shawshank, so I am thinking of a movie that Adam is going to have to ask yes or no questions.
Yes or no.
Yes or no.
You said
I
that
did
last
that last time. Man, yes or no.
Yes or no questions.
So yes or no questions, and
Yep.
he has to try to, within 2 minutes,
2 minutes.
to guess what the movie is I'm thinking of. And I'm going to write it down.
Yep.
And whoever loses is going to have the punishment.
The punishment.
Which
and
I have
he
created.
has the punishment, and the punishment is Shawshank related.
Shawshank related, and
So
he
here we
has no idea what it is.
I have no idea what the movie is or the punishment is.
Yeah, so let me write it down.
Okay. Don't let me see it. It's killing me. I've already been punished now twice because the first episode I could not guess Whiplash, which I'm still mad about to this day. And then the last one was Get Out. And well, the movie wasn't Get Out. It was No Country for Old Men, and he guessed it. So that's annoying. Did you write it?
Yeah, I'm.
How
I'm
long
adding,
is this title?
I'm
That's
adding
a hint.
animation.
Oh, animation.
That doesn't give it away.
You're just adding like
Adding
a little
something
cartoon.
to it, yeah.
All right, show the camera.
Oh yeah, don't look away.
I won't look.
So if you're listening, you can't see this, but I will reveal it afterwards.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, yes or no
I have
questions?
I have to be better at my question asking this time
Yes.
because I was awful.
Hopefully, last time I did, I gave you some ideas.
Yeah. Okay. You ready?
Yes. Oh wait, no, I'm not ready. Don't start. Hold on, I might need some tips.
Uh-oh.
So don't look at my
Tips.
screen.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't want to give you the wrong answers,
Okay. You're supposed to know everything about this movie.
Well, I know enough about this movie
Okay.
to where it's a good movie to.
You ready?
Not yet.
You
One
better
second.
be.
I'm almost. You can't see my screen at all, right?
No. Here, do this a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay. I'm good. I don't see it.
Okay. I am ready.
2 minutes on the clock and
Go.
go. Does it come out in the 90s?
It did not.
2000s?
Yes.
Okay. Is it a famous director?
No.
Okay. Male lead?
Yes.
Is there a lot of music involved in the movie?
Yes.
So is it musical?
I don't think I would consider it a musical. Let me see
Okay.
what IMDb says.
Comedy?
Yes.
Comedy, musical. Is
Well,
it
it's not a musical. Based on the tags that I'm seeing, it is not considered a musical.
but with music.
But it has music elements in it.
Is it animated?
Yes.
Okay. I think I have an idea. Shoot. Does it have a large green ogre?
It does not.
Oh, okay. I thought it might have been Shrek.
I was thinking of the other large green ogre.
Okay, I got 1 minute almost. Let's see. Is there a love interest in the movie for the male lead?
No.
Is it? So it's animated. It's a kids movie.
Yeah.
Disney movie.
No.
DreamWorks.
Wait, I don't think it's a Disney movie, but people are probably yelling at me. You could probably pause it
You're
for a
wasting
second.
my time.
Pause it for a second.
Stop.
I don't think it is.
I asked if it was DreamWorks too. Do you know that?
I'm trying to find the production. And I should just know it. But hold on. I apologize.
I thought it was Shrek at first.
I would stay away from. I don't think production would really matter too much. Once you
Okay.
hear. Oh wait. Here. Hold on. What's going on? It's not letting me look up the production. I'm so sorry, y'all. I will say.
Just tell me what it is, and I'll let you know what.
No. I don't think it is. I could be very. Wait, let me just quick Google.
Who made? You should say it out loud.
Um,
Oh gosh. Okay, this is my chance to think. I have 40 seconds left.
Okay. Oh no, I'm probably digging my.
I have 40 seconds left.
Okay, it is not. It is not Disney, and it is not the other one you ask. So
Okay.
go.
Okay. Shoot. Is there water in this movie?
Yes.
Lots of water?
Yes, but I think that might throw you off.
Is there lots of...
15 seconds.
Is there aliens in this movie?
No.
Is there a lot of fighting in the movie?
No.
Is there a cute little character in the movie? Like
yeah.
a cute little famous animated character?
Not one singular.
Okay, my time's up.
Okay, so write down your thoughts.
Okay. Can I Google animated movies from the 2000s?
Probably not. I think that would be
to look
too much.
for some answers. Oh shoot. Okay,
Yeah.
So it's not Disney. I had a couple of things in mind. It's not DreamWorks. You got gravy all over the table.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, it's also all over your laptop. So
Oh, is it really?
Problem. Well, not a ton, but
Oh no. Okay, we'll make it work.
it's all right. We'll clean it up.
All right, you have 30 seconds.
Wait.
I mean, a decent amount, or you know,
Um,
you should have. I'm not gonna say anything. You can just keep going. All right.
This might have come out in the 2010s.
Okay.
But this is the only thing I can think of.
Okay.
I'm gonna get punished. I already know it.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. The movie is the stop motion classic Flushed Away.
Well, you asked if it was DreamWorks, and I said no. Flushed Away is DreamWorks.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
It is. I'm sorry. It was the Polar Express
Oh.
with some trains. I drew little trains.
Gosh.
It looked terrible. Well, I think it would have given it away if maybe you said holiday movie or something like that.
Yeah, but I wasn't thinking holiday because it's not Christmas yet.
And you said water.
You threw me off.
You said water. I was thinking
That
snow.
lake, yeah, and well, then there's also that scene when they're on the frozen lake.
Oh yeah, Frozen Lake too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking more snow because I was like, yeah, there's a lot of water.
I was
in
just
this
thinking
movie.
water, and then the first thing that came to mind was Flushed Away. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's okay. There is water in there.
I thought
'cause
it
it's
was
flushed
Shrek
away.
at first.
Yeah, that's okay. So you ready for your punishment?
This is awful. You're
Okay.
never gonna get punished. It's gonna be me every week.
Okay, so the
That's all right.
first thing I'm going to give you is an envelope.
Uh-oh.
You're going to have to look at the envelope and read it for the listeners, but you can also show it to the camera. But here it is.
Okay. Wait. So this has to do with Shawshank. I'm a little confused.
So here's the envelope. Don't open it. Well, actually, you can go ahead and open it.
I can?
Yeah.
And I read it out loud?
Yeah. Or just look at it and you can read it.
Just to myself? I don't read it out loud?
No, you can read it.
United States District Court for the for the state of Indiana versus this poor sucker. Warrant for the arrest of a witness in a civil action. You are commanded to arrest and bring before this court Mr. Bozo Poo Poo Pants.
Yep, that's you.
A witness who has been served with the something subpoena. I'm not a lawyer. Subpoena. That's
Yeah.
the word. You are the arresting officer.
I am. See, can't
What
you tell with
happened
the
if
hat?
you were going to lose? You were going to arrest
I was going to
yourself?
arrest myself, or I was going to tell you what to do to arrest me. But yeah, so I have to arrest you.
I am being arrested for being a Mr. Bozo Poo Poo Pants.
Yeah, and you're actually going to serve 2 life sentences.
Wow.
Yeah.
In these handcuffs, the whole two. Oh.
Yeah. Sorry.
These
if
are on
that's-
backwards.
Are they? Okay. Well, you can just hold it there.
Great.
So show everyone your. So I arrested him. This is the arrest, the warrant for his arrest.
These are on backwards. It's actually very uncomfortable.
So your punishment is 2 life sentences in Shawshank.
Wow.
So that's your punishment.
So I have to go to prison?
Yeah, you're gonna go to prison for 2 years.
So I guess the pod
Or-
is ending now.
Yeah, for 2 life sentences, you're gonna go to prison, and I think we can Zoom maybe.
We could Zoom the
We
podcast.
could Zoom, and you can. We'll set it up.
I feel
Don't
like
worry,
it's
I'll have a red light character give you all the
I
equipment you need.
feel like it's a little unfair to have 2 life sentences for what I did.
What'd you do? You're wanted
did
for murder.
nothing.
You're wanted for murder.
I did nothing. It didn't say for murder.
Well, I'm saying for
It just
murder.
said that I'm a big bozo poo-poo pants or
Yes,
something.
but it is for murder. So just so you know.
Who did I murder?
Well, I mean, like Andy, you're innocent, but that doesn't matter. You're going to spend time in Shawshank.
Got it.
So,
but I'm going to escape anyway.
Well, we'll see.
Actually, don't worry about that. You're
if
not
you get
supposed to know.
a small enough hammer. So
why did you put them on backwards?
I don't know. Hold on, let me do this outro. As we reach the end of this captivating episode of CineBites, exploring the connection between food and film within the context of the Shawshank Redemption,
I've escaped.
Oh shoot, we got a man on the loose. I'll go catch him here in a second. I gotta do the outro. We've journeyed through a world where both resilience and sustenance go hand in hand. Just as Andy uses his skills to enhance the prison cafeteria, this film has nourished our souls with themes of hope, friendship, and the power of the human spirit. Remember, whether it's a hearty prison meal or a simple picnic on a rooftop, food in film is more than just sustenance. It's a reflection of the character's emotion, a reminder of their humanity. As you continue to savor your favorite films and culinary delights, may you find connections that enrich your appreciation for both art forms. You gotta come in. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the Shawshank Redemption. Stay tuned for more cinematic flavors and upcoming episodes. Make sure you follow us on YouTube and Instagram and hear our podcasts weekly on all major podcast platforms. Until next time, bon appetit and happy viewing. Get back here.